Hey everyone, I'm back with another tutorial. This time we're going to be looking at creating skin. We're going to sculpt in Zbrush, do some Substance Painter, and then render in Blender. Great thing about this is it actually works with both Cycles and Eevee. Result is pretty similar. So this is kind of how it's going to look. It's a great starter. I definitely recommend playing with it a little more and taking it to the next level yourself, customizing to suit your needs. But I think it looks pretty good. Let's get into it. Okay, a couple quick notes. You can probably get away with skipping Substance Painter if you don't have it or you just don't want to use it. You'll just have to paint all your maps in ZBrush or Blender. On that note, actually, you could probably skip ZBrush too if you just wanted to use Blender, but you'll have to sculpt and paint everything in Blender, which is okay if that's what you want to do, but that won't be covered in this tutorial. If you're interested in Substance, you can actually go to substance3d.com and download a free 30-day trial. I recommend it. I've actually been using it for a good number of years now. Okay, and finally, a lot of people have asked where I got my skin brushes. There's been a few comments before in the past, and I got them from zbrushguides.com. It's 15 bucks. It's not required for the tutorial. You can sculpt the skin manually, but I find these help to create that surface detail very quickly. Either way, like I said, it's not required, but it's very helpful. Let's get on with the tutorial. Alright, so I am in ZBrush. I'm going to start with a Sphere 3D. Just draw it out, edit, make Polymesh 3D. Now let's change the matte cap to something else like a white. We'll go to geometry. Let's use Z remesher. I'm going to turn it up just slightly. On Z remesher, turn it up a little bit. Undo that. Let's go up a little higher. Okay, that's good. Now let's subdivide up to, yeah, here we are. 4 million polys should be good. I'm gonna go to Lightbox and Brush. This is just where I put those skin brushes I just showed you. And I'll hit Skin Base 1. Once again, if you don't have these brushes, it's no big deal. You can just sculpt the surface of the skin any way you want. Actually, I'll show you real quick. One way I do that is I just go with the standard brush and I use spray and I pick an alpha like these little dots here, and then I just kind of go over it. It's not very accurate, but it can pass as skin. I'm going to be using the skin brushes, and you'll see why. Let's go to brush, turn on backface masking, and I'm going to turn up the intensity a little bit because we want this to show. As you can see, these brushes mimic the texture of skin very well. I'm going to go ahead and speed up because I'm going to cover this sphere with the skin texture. Okay, and another quick tip for you guys who don't have the brush pack, you can switch to the Damien standard brush. Let's first go over to Morph Target, Store. We'll turn the brush size down, and we'll lightly draw a few lines. And we'll just try and mimic some of the lines your skin makes. See, if I keep going over it, it starts looking more like kind of like a wrinkled skin right in this area here. Now I can go to the Morph Target, and we can lessen the effect, especially on the edges. There we go. This kind of helps to create like a skin pattern there. You remove the lines from the edge, and it becomes a lot more believable. All right, now let's use our standard brush, and we're going to draw a vein. Do freehand, and we'll pick, say, alpha 01. Let's just draw. I will turn up the intensity a little bit, and we'll draw a line. Go over it a couple times. Branch out. There we go. And we could even do, say, something like that. When we go back to our morph target, we can clean this up a little bit. Our morph brush, I mean, because we still have the morph target enabled. When we run this over the edge of the vein, it looks like it's kind of getting pushed under the skin. All right, there we go. That's about all I'm going to do for like surface texturing. We're going to go ahead and UV map now, UV unwrap. So let's go to the geometry tab, all the way down to the lowest subdivision level. Let's go to Z plugin, UV master, work on clone, Z plugin, unwrap, Z plugin, copy UVs. Let's go back. Let's do Z plugin, paste UVs. All right, now the UVs are pasted. Let's do this subtool. We'll rename, we'll say skin high. Make sure you're on the highest subdivision. If you're on the lowest subdivision, call it skin low. So I switched to the highest subdivision, you can see here, and I named it skin high. I'm going to now Z plugin, FBX, export import. Make sure these settings match. I have visible on, I have bin, and S normals for smooth normals. Everything else is deselected. Let's hit export. And I'm going to call this skin to low, or no, high. Make sure you name these correctly. This one's going to probably freeze up your ZBrush because it's such a big model. Let's give it a second. We're exporting like 4 million polys. If it looks like it's frozen, don't worry about it. Just let it do its thing. It will eventually finish up. All right, awesome. So that is exported. Let's go ahead and well, let's switch to the lowest subdivision level. Let's go back to geometry, go down to 1. We go to subtool. Let's rename it skin low. Go back to Z plugin, export, call it skin to underscore low, and save. This one's a lot faster. Okay. Now we can go back up to the highest subdivision level. Awesome. We're gonna start painting. So what I like to do is I like to get the standard brush. I turn off Z add, only turn on RGB right there. We'll turn the intensity down a little bit, maybe half. We'll go to color spray. We'll pick some kind of a dark red. And brush alpha, pick like maybe alpha 07, get these dots. And let's paint over the whole mesh. You want it to be kind of messy. What we're doing is we're going to paint the underlayer of the skin. This is what's under your top layer of skin. Kind of like, it'll kind of look like raw meat. Kind of gross, but here we go. I don't care about getting all of the white, and I don't care if the color is even. Some areas should be darker and lighter than others. Okay, now I'm going to change to freehand and maybe alpha 01. I'm going to pick like a really, really dark blue. And I'm going to color this vein. It does not have to be perfect. It just needs to be colored. Okay. Now I will go to stroke, drag rectangle, and then I will pick, let's see, alpha 22. It kind of looks like veins. I'm going to turn the RGB intensity down a little bit more, and I'm just going to put a lot of smaller ones around this big vein. Okay, let's turn it up a little bit. It's kind of hard to see. Now I'm going to draw big veins all over it. Make sure you do them in all different directions. And when you're texturing a person, you want to make sure the veins go in a place that makes sense, like the hands, forehead, or just anywhere. You can look at your reference and you can see anywhere you can sort of see veins. All right. Not too bad. Now I'm going to switch back to color spray. Say alpha 07. We'll go back to the red, and we'll go a bit lighter. Turn the intensity down. Let's go with a lighter red all over. This kind of hides the veins a little bit. You don't want to hide them completely, but it kind of looks like they're inside of the flesh. We'll keep pushing this red deeper into the texture. All right. Now in your final model, if you have large protruding veins like this one right here, and you don't want it to be blue, you just won't paint it blue. Or you'll paint it a very light blue, or purple, or whatever color you want. Okay, so this looks alright. Maybe I will do just a couple more of these. Just to make sure they are visible. All right, now one last thing I'm going to do. I'm going to go with a white, and we're on drag rectangle, and I'm going to pick this alpha here. I'm going to turn the RGB intensity down pretty low. That's a 9. I'm going to drag these large areas here. This is just to kind of break up the surface of the red. You can experiment with this and see what you like. Okay, there we go. Let's export this real quick. Let's go to UV map. I'm going to do a 4K texture, so I'm going to pick 4096 right there. Texture map, new from Polypaint. There's my texture. Let's hit clone, texture, flip, export. And let me just make a new folder because I already did this before and I don't want to get confused. So I'll say new textures, and we'll say, I'll just call the skin underlayer because it's the underlayer of skin. So we'll save it, hit OK. All right, cool. All right, let's go ahead. Let's turn texture off right here and turn it off right there. Now let's go back to stroke right here. Let's go with color spray, and we can pick, say, alpha 07 again, and we want to find kind of a skin color, something like that. Let me turn the RGB intensity up to maybe 15. Let's see how this looks, and I'm going to start painting that all over the mesh. We're going to start light and we're going to build it up in layers. Let's increase the intensity a little bit. This is going to be the top layer of skin. The reason we did this in layers is because some of this color data will still show through. We're also going to use that other texture map in the final shader. Now, the more work you put into this, the better it will look. I definitely recommend looking at references too, especially when you're doing something like a face, so you get the colors right, because the face has a lot of different colors in it. All right, so I think this is okay. Yeah, all right. Let's go ahead and create a new texture from Polypaint. Clone the texture, flip it, export, and we'll just call this skin texture. And we'll hit OK. All right, so now we're pretty much done in ZBrush. We're going to go to Substance Painter. All right, so we're here in Substance Painter now. Let's go to File, New, change the document resolution to 4096. Pick the low poly version of your model. Everything else looks pretty good. We'll hit OK. Here is our model. Cool. Let's go over here to the texture set settings, scroll down a bit, hit Bake Mesh Map. Change the output size to 4096. Right here under High Definition Meshes, select the high res model. Remember how we did the underscore low underscore high? The underscore low is the low res, the underscore high was the high res. Right here, we're actually going to say match by mesh name. It says low poly mesh suffix underscore low, and then the high is underscore high. We'll go ahead and bake our maps now. All right, we are back. The maps have baked, and as you can see, we have a pretty decent looking normal map. All right, well, we'll go ahead and import our skin textures, which I put in this new folder. I'll highlight both of them. I'm just going to drag them into the tray right here. Change undefined to texture. Import your resources to current session. Hit import, there they are. Let's add 2 fill layers. Fill layer 1 will be the regular skin layer. The fill layer 2, the one on top, will be the under layer. Let's go ahead and change this to multiply. And then we will lower the opacity down to your preference, or 15, 20%. All right. There we go. I'm just changing the light by holding down Shift, right clicking, and moving my mouse left and right. Okay, now we have to build a roughness map. I'm going to make a new fill layer. For base color, I'm going to turn the percentage down to 0. For height, turn it down to 0. For metallic, turn it down to 0. For normal, turn it down to 0. Let's go back to roughness. And as you can see, if I play with the slider, going solid white is, you see there's very little light reflecting off of it. You change it to black, you can see it gets very shiny. we kind of want to go to a light gray. Something like right here should work. We can actually change the roughness channel by changing this drop down here to roughness. And you can see this adjusting. Let's go to the fill area here. Let's right click and add a black mask. Then we'll right click the black mask and we will add a generator. Click generator and let's pick dirt. And you can see the dirt generator is kind of interacting with the normal map and filling data in to all the little creases that were created with the normal map. Now let's switch back to material and you can see that the roughness is showing varying degrees to really, based on that roughness map, which is interacting with the normal map. Let's go ahead and invert this. I wanted to invert it because I think that looks better. Okay. I'm just playing with the dirt level here to adjust this to my liking. Okay. So we're getting pretty close. Let's go back to the roughness. Let's turn on triplanar. A lot of this kind of comes down to your preference, and this may change a bit if you're using a full model like a face. Okay, let's go back to material. It's not too bad. Play with the contrast a little bit. We don't want the skin to be too shiny, but we want a little bit of shine to it for, like oils and stuff like that. All right, so this looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and export these textures. We'll go to File, Export Textures. Now I've created a custom output template for Blender. I'm going to show you how to create that real quick. Let's go to Output Templates. I'll show you my Blender one. It has the base color, roughness, metallic, normal, height. Really, for this, we don't even need metallic or height, but they may be useful for a project later, so we'll leave them in. To create this, go to PBR, metallic roughness, right click and duplicate. You can call it whatever you want. I'll call it Blender 2. I'm just going to delete emissive because I don't use it, but you know that it's there if you do need it. The only thing we really have to do here is for normal. Let's change it to OpenGL. So you drag normal OpenGL here, drop it in that RGB, click from RGB channels, now it turns blue, and that's about it. You can also adjust the output map names right here. For mine, I just have texture set and then what the texture is, like base color, roughness, metallic, whatever. Okay, so let's go back to settings. Let's pick the folder that you want to output your textures to. So I picked new textures. Make sure you pick your output template that you created. I'm going to use my original Blender Cycles size. Let's say 4096. And let's do export. Okay. As you can see, we got no errors. We're ready to move on to Blender now. Alright guys, so I'm back in Blender. Let's get rid of this default cube. Let's go to File, Import, FBX. And let's see. I have skin too low. We can uncheck animation. We'll import the FBX. For me, it imported very small. I'm just going to hit Alt-S, and it actually changed the size for me. We'll hit space. Let's type in smooth, shade smooth, and then I like to add a subdivision surface modifier. All right. To continue with this, you need to have the node wrangler add-on enabled. So let's go to edit and preferences if you haven't already. And let's go to add-ons. You can type in Wrangler. Make sure this is on. Okay. Let's go to shading. I'm actually going to go ahead and change this to Cycles and GPU. Remember, this works in both Cycles and Eevee. We have our BSDF shader right here. I'm going to delete the normal map, click the BSDF shader, and I'll hit Control-Shift-T. And I'm going to highlight, import our textures. And as you see, the Node Wrangler actually set up the shader for us. Like I said, I don't really need the displacement. I'm going to delete it, and I don't need the metallic. I'm going to delete that, and I'm just going to turn metallic all the way down to 0. All right, there is our texture. Cool. Let's say render. And we're rendering. Not a bad result. I want to add some lights real quick, though. Let me delete this one. And let's try a spotlight. Let's go here. Let's try, say, 500. A little bit more, 1,000. We'll angle it. And I'm going to duplicate that. Let's change it to do something like this. Okay. Let me actually rotate this so we can see the vein in the front. All right, that's good. Let's do a quick render again. Let's see how this looks. Not bad, but we're not done yet. Let's go to shading. Hit Shift-A, go to texture, image texture. Let's open. All of my dialog boxes are open up on the other screen. Let's go to our new texture, and let's pick that underlayer again. And let's drag that over to the subsurface color. As you can see, that hasn't done anything yet, but we're about to turn on subsurface scattering. Let's set this to, say, 0.2. Okay, let's play with this. The more we turn the slider, the more it shows the underlayer texture, which was set to subsurface color. So this is kind of how we build up layers of skin. We have our top layer, we're turning a little bit transparent, and we're showing the underlayer. So by adjusting that underlayer, you can adjust how the veins and the meaty textures look under the skin. So of course we want the main layer to show heavier on top. So I'm only going to do maybe 0.2. And let's go ahead and render again. And there we have it. We can switch back and forth. This is without subsurface scattering. This is with it. You can see this one is just a little bit more red. We could even do something like, let's add color, RGB curves, and we can adjust this as well to get different shades of color. We can even use the RGB curves to adjust the underneath portion of the skin. If we wanted to, we could take the, say, blue level, we can turn it like way up, and you see the veins a little bit better, or we can turn the red down or up. That'll change how that looks also. We can also adjust the roughness map the same way. Use the RGB curves right here. See, we lower it, skin gets shinier, raise it up, less shiny. We can adjust the curve and do just different effects. Okay, let's take a look. This is the old one, and let's render again. And here's the skin with a slightly different look. As you can see, those RGB curves can really change the look of your skin. Also, as promised, this does work with Eevee. Here we go, here's Eevee. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed that tutorial, hope it's helpful. Like I said, this is a good start to skin. Feel free to play around with it, add more detail, play around with your nodes, and just make it better. But I think overall, it's a pretty good start. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks, bye.